Hi guys, this is Caroline Porter Thomas from Empower In. Thank you so much for watching. So I have a video request from Elvira Satikova, who posted a comment under the video, New Graduate Nurses, How to Start Your Day. She says, "You are so inspiring, thank you." No, thank you. And I'm a third-year nursing student in Canada, Windsor, have lots of questions and fears. Would you make a video about the major lab values and the whole critical thinking process that every nurse must have? Thank you for your video request. So there's two tools that help me with lab value, with like major lab values that I think every nurse and nursing student should know. It's these two images, and I'm gonna post them so you can draw them yourself. And so what do these mean? This is your basic major electrolyte panel. And then this is your H&H. So basically what you want to do is when you're looking through your patient's labs, you want to get in the habit of writing this down on your report sheet, but only writing down the lab values that are abnormal. So for example, if you have everything is fine but your potassium is low, it would look something like this. Or if everything was fine except the BUN and creatinine were elevated, then it would look something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a few of these, and I'm going to tell you the nursing critical thinking process that goes behind a few of these electrolytes. For example, one of the main ones that you will see in the hospital is a low potassium. For some reason, I see a low potassium all the time. But potassium is something that you need to understand is easy to replace. You can actually call the doctor and say, hey, the potassium's 3.2, do you want to order a replacement? And they'll know exactly what you're talking about. You can take tablets that are potassium, or you can take a powder that you can mix in water or juice, or you can even take IV potassium. But be careful with the IV potassium because on a peripheral line, it can be very painful. So that's kind of your last resort. First resort is taking it orally. And also make sure your patients eat a little snack because it can be a little tough on the stomach. And also, the other critical thinking process that goes behind potassium is there's certain medications that will actually lower the potassium. So a lot of diuretics will do that. So if you have a patient that is on furosemide Lasix, then and their potassium is already low, then you want to question that. You want to call the doctor and say, you know, the potassium is low and this Lasix is ordered. What do you want me to do? Sometimes what they'll do is they'll order a replacement potassium and then have you give the Lasix because a lot of these patients have a lot of extra buildup of fluid and they need these diuretics. Other times they'll just tell you to hold this dose of Lasix altogether, or they'll adjust the dose. So just to give you little tips on what to expect. Another thing is an elevated BUN and creatinine. You want to think if this is elevated and if it's appropriate to the patient, then you would think fluid. Because if your BUN and creatinine are elevated, that usually means dehydration. So that can usually be fixed easily with some kind of fluid replacement via intravenous formula. There's a few times when fluid is not the correct answer, and that's if the patient has renal failure and the fluid will just stay in their system and it won't get out of their system appropriately, or if the patient has congestive heart failure, you want to be careful with giving them too much fluid because the heart is not able to pump, with too much fluid on board. And then you have the CBC. So a lot of times what you will see is a low H&H, which means a low hemoglobin and hematocrit. The hemoglobin is the number on the top and the hematocrit is the number on the bottom. So usually what they look at is the top number, and if it's lower than 9, many times physicians will order a transfusion. In some places it's lower than 8. It really just depends on your facility. But some things that you may expect with a patient, and this goes back into the nursing critical thinking process, is that if you have a patient with a low H&H, you would normally expect them to be a little bit weaker. So assistance and safety is a major concern. You want to make sure that these patients call you every time they need to get up and go to the bathroom or take a walk. Because if if their blood levels are low, they're not being adequately perfused. And if they sit up or they stand up right away, they could have decreased perfusion to their brain and actually, fall or pass out or, things. So basically, safety is like a major nursing concern when you have somebody that does have a low H&H. One thing with WBCs is if the WBCs are high, obviously that can indicate an infection. Another thing is if the WBCs are very low, you need to take a lot of measures as well. Some measures, if the WBCs are lower than 2, we automatically in the hospital, we put that person on neutropenic precautions, which means that they are very susceptible to most of the bacteria or germs or anything that will not affect the normal immune system. So what we have to do is take measures to protect that person. So we put them on what we call reverse isolation, which means that we're putting on gowns and gloves and extra hand washing and sanitation, basically to protect them. The other thing is platelets. One major thing with platelet level is that I've noticed in the hospital, and I think that this could be some questions in your nursing exams or NCLEX, is that you need to watch the medications that we give. A normal platelet level is between 150,000 to 400,000, and anything lower than 150, you want to be careful if you have medications to give that are going to lower this level. Some medications that you want to watch out for are heparin and Lovenox. Those are medications that we give a lot in the hospital that have drastic impacts on the platelet level. So, guys, listen, there's only so much that I can talk about in a short video, but if you have any other tips for nursing students about this electrolyte panel or CBC or any other lab values, please post a comment below and we would love to read them all. Also, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and post a comment and let me know which video you want to see next. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.